to my old ward today. I haven't been there in about 6 years. They recently received a threat from some crazy man in our community, and I've been wanting to just kind of check in, see how they're doing, see what security's like, see what changes have been made, and see the people I used to call brothers and sisters. I think going to church on a regular basis for me helps keep me level-headed, because a lot of the interactions I have with current believers is online, and through the screen, a lot of times those believers can be pretty mean. But in person, I find that believers are quite nice, pretty decent people, and I really liked going back to my old ward today and seeing all those people and getting hugs and realizing that they don't hate me because I left the church. They just don't talk to me anymore. First thing I will note about church today is that they still have not beefed up security other than the one rented pole that I showed in a previous video. What are these cameras actually gonna do? So they have that one pole with a couple cameras on it, and it's only covering one part of the building. It's not even covering the other side. There are other doors on the other side of the building. There are several entrances. They have locked those doors. You're supposed to go to one entrance. I think that's maybe supposed to help with some flow or security. I did hear from somebody in the ward that they thought maybe in the future the ward would invest in some security camera system or something like that. So that's good news. Hopefully that's true. All right, let's go through how church went today. So first of all, I knew like half the people there, and that's so weird because I go to my local ward here where no one knows me really. And so it was weird going back to church where everybody knows me, where I went for 10 years, where like I served with these people. I've been their home and visiting teacher. They've been my home and visiting teachers. Like, we know each other. We haven't seen each other in the last 6 years in person, but we have been Facebook friends online, and you've seen me post anti-Mormon. I put that in quotes, anti-Mormon, because I'm not really anti-Mormon. I'm more like anti what the fuck those leaders are doing, whatever that is. But I'm not anti like the people. The people are genuinely good people most of the time. So I knew like half the people. I would say there was about 100 people there in total, and like almost half of them were kids. So this is a very kid heavy ward in this area. We had 2 youth speakers. One of them talked for about 30 seconds. The second talked for about 60 seconds. So that left a very long time for Brother McCormick to talk. Brother McCormick used to be my bishop. He reminded us of that while he was up at the pulpit. He made sure to mention that he used to be a bishop. And he was probably my least favorite bishop of all. He just has like a whole face on his face that looks like he hates everyone. That could just be his face, except that every interaction I've ever had with him has always left me feeling like he thought I wasn't good enough. And that's basically what his talk was about today, was about how we're not good enough. He was talking about the sacrament. That's what his assigned topic was. He mentioned that a long time ago, him and his wife went to BYU Education Week, which I totally remember them talking about that. And it's something that makes me wonder, how much did that cost them? Does it cost you to go to BYU Education Week? How much extra brainwashing are you getting in that week? That's kind of interesting to me. I think that the church education system is just one big brainwashing machine. So it's always interesting to me to learn what they're up to. He talked about this guy, David A. Christensen, who gave a class on the sacrament. They talked about why do we come to church? What's the main purpose of church? Apparently, the main purpose in the LDS church to go to church is to receive the sacrament for that one specific ordinance. You must eat the bread and drink the water, which I skipped today because I was kind of thinking about germs today. He chastised like the young men and the priests for like rushing the sacrament prayers. He wants them to speak every word meaningfully so that everyone could hear Christ's voice in the prayers. All right, kind of kept talking about how everybody needed to be better. I think that's interesting that that's how his talks always go. It was almost like I've heard this talk before. I swear to God, he's given this exact same talk before, because he also talked about the need of keeping the chapel holy by not having conversations in the chapel. We need to take our business elsewhere. I would have always left talks like that feeling like, yes, I need to do better. He's right. Like, let me walk reverently out of the chapel and have my discussions out there. But I'm sorry, like, let's just be humans. and like have conversations and be genuine people. Brother wants us to take the sacrament seriously. And he said that Boycade Packer once said that the chapel is the most sacred place on earth outside the temple, which I want to look up because I don't think I've ever heard that mentioned. I've heard that the home is the most sacred place next to the temple, but I've never heard someone say the chapel is. Now, the chapel is supposed to be like a more reverent space. You're not supposed to run through the chapel or anything like that. Like, well, you're not supposed to run through the building either, but I remember teaching my kid to like fold her arms as we walk through the chapel, like not just like walk nonchalantly, I guess. It's just bullshit, meaningless things that don't actually matter. He wanted us to respect the chapel by talking in the foyer, not congregating in the chapel. He said, we are a social people, but obviously don't be social here. Be social out there, where the couches are, not where the pews are. These are the 3 words that I wrote down while listening to Brother talk. Solemn, highbrow, chastised. I also wrote down always demanding me be better. I also think I wrote down that I wish that he was talking in 3 times speed, because everything he said was in the slowest way possible. I don't know if he was just trying to fill the time up or if he just hadn't prepared a talk, but it was long. He talked about how there used to be a time when there used to be 2-hour sacrament meetings, which I did not know, and how whenever he was serving the sacrament as a young boy, him and his friend fell asleep during the 2-hour sacrament meeting and were woken up by his friend Doug being dragged by his ear out of the room, getting yelled at. And then Brother told us Doug died after graduation in a plane crash. We didn't need to know that, but we know now. Thanks for bringing it up. Brother also wants to make sure we know that we're not just chastising the young men to be more reverent during the sacrament. We also want to chastise the young men presidents to be doing a better job of teaching the young men to do better at sacrament. No pressure. Then, like, a stake president, I think, got up and, like, talked for just a second, mentioned a young woman presidency talk, actually, which I love. I love a man quoting a woman. He talked about, like, being in a cave and how dark it is and how just, like, a little bit of light helps. And, yeah, that's, like, a great metaphor. But, like, we can put that metaphor to anything, real or not. You know, like, light does help. See. Before church started, the first person who came and greeted me was someone who's a little bit more progressive of a member. I see him posting things politically that are a little bit more progressive, and I consider him like a pretty smart, like nice, decent person. Came and said hi to me. He asked me about my family. He was doing great, and his wife came up right afterwards after church to also say hi to me. So it's just nice to know that those 2 people are just like they always have been, just genuinely nice people. It's nice to talk to them again. And then I started having a lot of other people show up and say hi to me. It was nice for them to not pretend that I didn't exist. They actually said hi. There was a few people who I think weren't interested in saying hi, and that's totally fine. I know that I post content that isn't pleasing to many Mormons. I talked a little bit about, you know, how they got that threat recently and how scary that is, but everybody said, you know, they mostly didn't like hear about it, other than like youth activities got canceled, seminary got canceled, but that was basically it for them. Oh, then I went to Relief Society. Things that I noticed that were changed is that they have a dry erase board now, and they have a huge ass TV, which is pretty cool. They did a council first, which I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. You guys held a council before you did the lesson. The council was us just talking about the gospel app library and like a different part of the library we could access, which I thought was weird. We talked about a Prayers for Peace conference talk by President Eyring. And they talked about how like there's different kinds of peace, like peace in Christ or like world peace. And, you know, that's true. Like, you can be in a war-torn country and still find some sort of peace within yourself. And they think that that's, like, Christ-like peace. But I think it's something different. In regards to, like, saying, like, I know the church is true or whatever. Like, I know that God is listening. This person said, sometimes I don't know. Oh, such a breath of fresh air. It's so nice to hear somebody say that. Because, you know, it's okay to say sometimes we don't know something is true. Someone talked about seeing Christ in the little things, like cardinals showing up around them, or like this bag of chips falling when they like were thinking about their dad who likes those favorite chips. And You know, like you can see signs and things like that. I think that stuff happens that is kind of unexplainable or like kind of miraculous in some way. I don't think that it's because of God or Jesus. I think it's something else, but I just love the way that energy works like that, I guess. And you know, it's noticeable in all faiths. They talked about having continual prayer on your heart. And I wrote, y'all just talking to nothing though, which is kind of funny to me. Someone said they don't love Eyring's quote. He said one time that you should be praying on your knees or on your feet, not on your seat. And someone said they don't love that quote. Another breath of fresh air, having someone say that they aren't in love with something that an apostle said. That's so lovely to hear. I think that it's really good to like go to the church that I'm talking about. Even though I don't believe in it, it gives me that perspective and like puts me back in my place, to be quite honest, because being on the internet, I'm surrounded by people who believe the same things as me, or I'm always talking to haters. And being in a place where we don't believe the same thing, but we can still get along with each other isn't really something that happens online as much. So it was just nice to be there in person and know like I can believe something different, you can believe something different, but we can still enjoy each other's company.